This will be about a 10-minute video introducing you to the DOM and how you can programmatically style your website using the DOM. So this is a really cool technique where you can change the look and feel of the web page while it's running. So instead of just dishing out a static HTML web page to the client, you can create a dynamic one that changes while the user is using the website. So let's start. I'm going to show you something I'm going to show it to you using codepen.io, and I'll share you a link to this page when we're all done. Alright, so let's start off with a really basic web page. I've got a div with 2 paragraph elements in it. And what I want to do is I want to style this web page and put a border around the box, and then also perhaps give it a background color of yellow. So let's do that. Okay, the first thing I did is I'm doing this inline. So this is referred to as an inline style, and I'm creating a 1 pixel black border. And then the next thing I did is I styled it, I created a background color of yellow. But from your previous programming class, you probably learned that this is a bad thing to do. Inline styles you really want to avoid, and instead you want to put them in an external style sheet. So let's do that. So I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to create a style. We'll fix this up. Okay, so now I just styled it using an external style sheet. So the next thing I want to do is I want to style this using JavaScript, and I want to style it using the DOM. I'm going to accomplish this task by creating a button that's wired up to the onClick event. So when I click my button, I want to apply the style. So this is going to be my function called styleDiv. Now when the user clicks this button, apply style, I want to apply my style to the web page. I'm going to apply the style to the web page using JavaScript and the document object model. So here's the DOM, HTML DOM, document object model. This is from w3schools.com. So it shows, here's our document, really important, the document, and then below it is basically an XML structured document. Starts with HTML, and then from there you have additional elements, 1 or more elements. You've got the head, the body. Within the body you can have multiple elements, H1, H2, A, div, things like that. And in the head you have your title and href tags and some of your tags for search engine optimization, things like that. Along with w3schools.com, another reference specification I recommend is developer.mozilla.org. Really good. So here's the specification for the document object model, and there's a ton of properties, methods, and events. And you can look through all of these, and some are more important than others. One, which is really important, is get element by ID. And you've seen us work with that in the past. So here's document.getElementById. So document is our object. GetElementById is the method that we call. So this is a function, and we pass it an identifier. An identifier is what uniquely identifies that element, and it will return an object in the DOM that we can programmatically modify. So let's start. We can copy this, and then if you want to find details about this, you can click it, and it shows some really nice examples, which we are going to do right now. So we have document.getElementById, and what we need to do is we need to get this div. So we have to give it an ID. ID, we'll call it main div. So then when we want to programmatically modify that, we have to reference that ID. So, element by ID, quotes, main div. And now we can programmatically modify this div, which is really cool. So, what do we want to do? Let's change the style. Perhaps let's, and then var my element. You get that? So, let's back up and explain what's going on here. I'm creating a variable called myElement. MyElement will be the return value from calling the method getElementById of the document object model, where the returned object will be the div identified by the ID of main div. So now we can programmatically modify it. So let's change the background color. So how do we change the background color? Well, we first start by referencing the element, and then we have another property called style, and then from style we give it the property for the background color. So I've switched to w3schools.com, and I'm going to scroll down here, and I want to change the background color. So how do we do that? Here's the background color. Right here, so background color. Sets or returns the background color of an element. So this is what we want to do. So it's your document, and then here, this is if you wanted to reference it by its element, body, but instead we aren't going to reference it by its element, body, because we have a reference to that particular ID, and then style and background color. So let's copy this. Background color.red. So if everything works right, when I click this button, apply style, we're going to call the styleDiv function. StyleDiv function will call getElementById of our document and return an HTML element that's identified by myDiv, which is this guy right here. And then it's going to store that into a variable, local variable specific to this function called myElement. And then we're going to modify myElement. We're going to modify the style property. From the style property, we're going to modify the background color and change it to red. So let's hope this works. Let's click apply style. And it worked. So that's an example of how you can programmatically modify a document/web page using JavaScript and the DOM. So I'll save this. Pin saved, and here's the link.